fixes, and like every other YouTuber in existence doing making videos, I've had a little company called Bangood hitting up on me for months and months and months, and quite frankly, I've just been knocking them back constantly. A, because I like to usually support local retailers, and B, because there's simply nothing that they had that I wanted. I'm very selective about what comes into the workshop. However, my mate Ben over at Hue and Awe recently did a pretty convincing review on some of their squares, and I just happened to need a new one of these. Only really small, so an only really quick video of what I think of the two actual little squares that I got from Bangood, and let you know whether or not I think these particular ones are worth it, seeing as how the bigger ones look like they were pretty good. Right, firstly I have this tiny little engineering square. Well, it's not too bad. How big is she? 100 by 70 it says on there. So that one will be, yep, 10 centimeters in that way and 7 centimeters in that direction. And the reason I got this one is because I didn't have anything like it, and I would like one. So it was a useful addition to the workshop. Primarily what I want to use it for is stuff like checking blades to be genuinely, and I'm glad after a few years this one still is, 90 degrees. That's quite nice on there. And of course over at my miter saw as well, because as good as that thing is, when you move it around and bump it and so on, I do want to be able to check that it is square. And on small projects too, where you've just got a little box or something that you would like to be able to get a very quick measure, where sometimes a larger, more cumbersome square is going to get in the way. And I cannot fault this thing. It is reasonably priced, and it does what is on the label for an incredibly simple tool. It is probably now the most accurate square that I have in my workshop. Doing the double line is how we check, and they are perfectly parallel, as you'd expect a solid body engineered square to be. No problems at all recommending that. It is a very nice little thing. Then we get to the real reason I bought these squares. So this is my new Bangood square, and this is my old combination square. No brand on it, probably a Craftright. It's from the big box store Bunnings, and it has been my favourite tool. It was one of the very first things I would recommend a new woodworker to buy is a combination square, because I use this thing constantly. And it was like $15. It's been fantastic, but over nearly 4 years, it's developed a slight problem. If we redo our little parallel test, let's use the inside. Let's try to start them right on each other. We can now see that while they start very nicely, by the time we get to the end, they are in fact a little bit out. And that's not fantastic. While I don't need this to be a particularly precision instrument, I'm guessing over time, the little brass doohickey in here that holds it all together is probably just worn a little bit. And now I have a nice spare steel ruler because this was worn out. So we got the Bangood one. Firstly, let's do the check again. I'll separate this one firstly, just because my pencil's not the sharpest. We can see there that that looks pretty good, and if I take the engineering square, which we know is going to be great, and line that up, it is absolutely perfect. There we go, check that out. That's just lovely. Where's the old one? There we go, we can see that light coming straight through. Not fantastic, and that's why this one is being retired. So you're probably going, great, those two squares, they're simple tools, they do the job, they're inexpensive, they're tops, right? Well, no. This one, awesome. Yep, get it, good, no problems with that whatsoever. This one, burn it with fire. I'll show you why. This is my old one. Apart from the fact that it's got this lovely little level, which on there I liked, which this one is missing, There is a fatal flaw in the design of the Bangood one, which is going to make my life frustrating because I refuse to throw out a tool that works, and I'm probably going to keep using it anyway. But I don't want you to. Here's why. This is my old one, Craftright, very cheap. You unscrew here, you move it to where you want it to be, you lock it in, and while it may not be square anymore, it still actually kind of works. I can use it as a depth gauge and other things too. Here's the Bangood one, and I want to adjust it, right? Oh, yeah, that happens every single time. This is actually quite a nice looking little brass thingy-bob in here in terms of that compared to the old pin. But if you look down in there, you will see the little brass half moon pin. See how it's rotating around in there like that? That is the bit which is meant to hook on to the ruler. And it does. When you correctly position it in this groove, it's fine and dandy, and it holds really square and really strong. The problem is, to get it back in is incredibly frustrating. First of all, you have to look down there, you've got to line it up right, you've got to make sure you've got enough depth on it. Then you've got to slot it in, adjust it. Okay, now I can line it up to 200 mils. And this is the fatal flaw. See when I'm tightening, that half moon rotates and only the tiniest bit of the corner of that relatively soft brass is engaged in the groove of the ruler, which means as soon as you release the pressure, it comes out and the damn ruler falls off. It's just a fatal design flaw. More than that, while this is very accurate now, with that tiny surface area on the brass pin, I reckon it's going to be 3-6 months before that's worn away to such an extent that this thing will be out like the Craftright, and I'll probably need a new one again. So there you go, guys. I don't often take free things on the channel, and this is the first of the sort of cheaper mass marketing ones that I've done, and quite frankly, I'm probably not going to do any more. I like my blue things, and I'm very selective, as I said, about what I let into the Fixit Fingers workshop. This will be a handy little addition. But for the extended postage time and the $1 or $2 you save compared to buying something from a local retailer, I'd probably just get it from a local retailer instead. I understand Bangood do have some really cool stuff. As I said, other people have reviewed things which are much cheaper than their authentic counterparts. Then again, I also don't particularly like that those authentic tools are just ripping off woodpecker left, right, and center. And while they may be very expensive and they're not available here in Australia, you just have to decide if that's the sort of retailing that you want to do. You can probably tell obviously by this that Bangood don't get any say over my reviews in this video. And while they are another alternative to your Amazon and your eBay, and they do have some cool stuff, it's simply not going to be a place that I go to find my tools regularly. And we'll see how cranky they are about this honest review. Thanks for watching, guys. Just a really quick one. Next up, I think we'll go into another workshop project just for something different. James out. I'll catch you then.